Crab rangoon. It's a thick piece of crab rangoon.
Sometimes you just want to eat the whole thing in one bite. You can't. You don't want to rip it in pieces.
Yeah,
one bite.
All right.
One bite.
Ooh, all right. Let's get this show on the road. All right, everybody. Welcome to the Almost Awesome Podcast. This is episode number 12. Of course, you got me on the main mic, Pirate Lolo, holding it down, holding down the boat. Of course, I got my co-captain here. I gotta think of something new. I was gonna say my brother from my mother, but I say that every time. Doesn't change. Okay. It's not like it changed between weeks. He's no longer my brother from my mother.
Brother who shares the same acronym.
My co-captain, my navigator, my right-hand man, Kid Reynolds. How you doing?
What's up, y'all? Doing pretty good. Pretty good. It's good to be back in it.
All right. I know it's been a while, but I had to be consistent with the podcast. We had to make sure that we had this happen. We had this in the works for a while, and now we're making it work. Today, we got a special guest, a good friend of both me and Matt, a friend that we haven't seen in a long time. Just kidding. We saw him over the weekend. Let me introduce to you guys our good friend, Lunar Guppy, Ryan Kaggle, the man of many names. How are you, my friend?
Yeah. Good. How about you? You know, this weekend was fantastic. It was hilarious that we were all in Orlando. I think it was even funnier that we were able to convince your brother to come up all the way from Chicago just for a sick weekend.
It was like not a hard argument.
It was very little resistance.
It was literally like, are you going to that pop punk thing? And I was like, what pop punk thing? Oh yeah, I should go to that.
It's like, yeah, come on, pull my arm a little bit. Yeah, I'll go. But every time I go now in Orlando, it's like you're always there, so it's not like you ever left to go to Chicago.
Has it been?
So I feel spoiled. I feel spoiled.
I thought you've been there. Didn't you go like last weekend or 2 weekends ago?
Yes, but like before that, it was just like a reoccurring thing.
It does. It does.
Several weekends now. I don't see you anymore, and I'm just like, oh yeah, that's right. He's in Chicago. But then every other time, it's just like, hey Matt, it's like you never left. So
good, man. I like
it's
that.
a great time. Yeah.
I have been going pretty often. I feel like if I actually counted it, it probably is like once a month or once every 2 months. I think I end up being in Orlando.
Once a month's not too bad.
Yeah.
It's actually the right amount. You shouldn't be going every other weekend.
That would be funny. Sorry, I completely forgot one thing. Forgot to update the playlist, I think. Unless I did this last week.
Well, Mark's doing that. Ryan, how have things been with you, man? I know we saw each other, but
yeah, well, a lot happened today. So it was pretty cool. I was honestly just like, yeah, I'm just gonna do nothing today. And then someone from nursing school was like, hey, when was the last time we hung out? And I was like, I don't know, months ago. It's like, it's been a year since we graduated. And I was like, shit, it has been a year since we graduated. So I grabbed Bole with him, and he was like, hey, why don't we stop by our old alma mater? And I was like, no, why would I want to see that place of all things? It's I just got out of there a year ago, and you want me to go back just to say hi to probably people I haven't actually. And it was very nice. It was nice that we were able to see like 1 to 2 people, but most of my professors are gone. So
oh wow,
wild how that happens.
Damn.
Yeah.
So does this person work in a different hospital than you?
Yes.
Okay.
He's yeah. And you know what's even crazier about like working? Oh, by the way, for all those that are watching, I'm a nurse. RN, Ryan RN.
Nice.
Oh, I gotta put that on the title. Gotta get the name right.
Ryan RN. Or you could just do R and then little Y, A, and then a giant N. I've been trying different names out here and there.
There we go.
Figuring that out.
Gotta fix the title.
But, yeah, it's so crazy. It's like when you're in school with people, like high school is the best way I could describe it. You're in a room with people every day, and you see these people every day, and of course you're going to be their friends. You get close because you're in the same proximity. We're humans. We're going to have to interact with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Nursing school is exactly like that because you're there so often, and you're all there for the same reason. It's not like we're all here for different things like in college, where it's like you could talk to one guy and they're in a different major, or that you talk to another guy. And it's just, this one's like there's solidarity in the fact that you see everyone every day, and then at one point once you graduate, you don't see them anymore. So it becomes like a very surreal thing where it's like, oh, I need to keep tabs on them, or I want to know what happened, because these are people you want to be with, like you want to talk to for the rest of your life. But even crazier is that the hospital doesn't help at all with that. It's like you choose it, you're like, we're all excited at the beginning of at the end of nursing school. It's like, oh man, we're all in the same hospital, we'll be working like similar days, and you know what's crazy, you're just gonna be down the hall from me, or I'm just a couple floors above you.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, you don't even know that being down the hall is like miles away. When you're with a patient, you're stuck
right
in
there,
your
right?
unit. Yeah, you're in that unit, and you don't see anyone other than your coworkers. And the way the hospital's shaped is that even the hallway like curves a little, so you can't even look down the hallway, and you're like, hey, I can see you over there. It's like, no, it's like a little shift, and it's like, oh, there's a wall. I see the wall, and beyond that wall, I know you're there.
They knew, man. They knew with the design of the hospital.
So that hype kind of just slowly died down, and then trying to see people you saw every day.
Well, that's like super cool that your friend hit you up then to connect again.
Like he reached out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's because he's used to others reaching out to him, and then we were very close back in college, back in nursing school, and then this was a big moment for us. It was a year ago, and then we were trying to see if we get more people, but yeah, we just ended up, it was just me and him, grabbed some bole, and then we saw our teachers. But we're gonna meet up again on Wednesday just to hash it out like old times where we just drink it. But another crazy thing was going back to that school and then letting all that like anxiety start filling you up. It's like nostalgic anxiety just fill you up with like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to pass this test, or I need to study more to do this, or I have to do a paper. And it's like, wait a minute.
It's fucking PTSD, man.
I'm not that person anymore. But then it's also good to look back, and then you find yourself in a better place. There's like this comic that I saw on the internet at one point where it's like a Rubik's Cube man. Like the head is a Rubik's Cube. And he's looking at an old picture of himself in like an unsolved Rubik's Cube. And then you see him now, and he's completely solved. So it's like, little by little, these days, I feel a little more complete or solved. So it's really cool.
It's good, man. You just gotta get one side at a time.
Yeah, one
side at a time.
Even if you get two colors next to each other, it feels good.
Yeah, man.
Step by step.
Then one day you learn you can just remove the stickers and move them around.
So,
and you're like, oh.
When was the last time you hit someone else up?
Ooh, that's a good question. If I were to go to my phone, I'll let you know, because usually I am awful at that, and I'll be completely honest with that, because it's like when it's my day off, I want to just be by myself sometimes, but then it's also like, oh, why is no one texting? I gotten out of that bad habit where it's like, oh no, why is no one texting me? I'm so bad at this. But yeah, I can't be expecting people. If I want to talk to people I want to hang out with, I should be the one who leads the way. But when it comes to like going up to Orlando, it's like I see everyone I want to be with because they're all in one house, which is super nice. But when that changes, because that's how the world works, change happens all the time, I have to start hitting people up.
It's rough, man.
And I keep learning this lesson every time I go up. It's like, you can't just surprise people. You can't just be like, hey, I'm in town. I mean, well, I should hit people up and be like, hey, I'm in town this next weekend if you're free to do anything. But it's more like I'm more passive. I'm very passive, where it's just like, oh, you're here? Guess what? I'm here.
It's weird because it's work. Like when you think about it, like it's like I guess like even like going back to like what you said, like the high school setting, or like even like like the nursing school setting. Like when you're in college, everyone's like local and around each other. You're kind of like forced to spend time with people, and you kind of grow with them, right?
Right.
But then like after like, almost the same exact thing like at a nursing school, same thing out of college, like, you know, everyone goes their separate ways. Or like even like for people who still live here in Orlando, like I it hit me recently where it's just like we all still live in Orlando, but then everyone literally moved farther away, where it's become a hassle of like where's a equal meeting point where, like, you know, some people, they don't want to drive so far, like, oh, you know, is it worth it to go out for like drive out 45 minutes to just hang out with like old friends and stuff? And it's like, I mean, yes. I guess for me, I'm biased because I live so far, so I'm used to it. So it's like 45, that's 15 more than my usual drive to civilization. But it's weird that like you have to put in work to like connect with your friends, right? Like,
yeah.
You can still throw in like the hey, what's up, how's it going on like Facebook and stuff. Like, hey, just looking for a quick chit chat. But like, really, like I try to tell myself this. I'm terrible at it too, of just like trying to keep tabs on like people like I haven't talked to in a long time, that I'm curious to see like, oh, how's it going? Like, yes, we may not keep up now, but it's like, no, like the experiences we went through, I still like value that. Like I think back, I'm like, oh man, I wish I could hit this guy up. I wish I could hit this guy up. It's like, no, I can go on Facebook. They're right there. But it's weird, like, to, I guess maybe it's like part of like me being like an introvert, where it's just like, oh, it's hard for me to reach out to people. Like you were saying, like, oh, it definitely feels super nice to be invited, but like you can't expect like, oh, I'm Mr. Super Popular, everyone's gonna invite me everywhere. If they don't invite me, then I'm not liked by anybody. But it's weird. Like,
how conceited am I to think like that?
Don't worry, dude. There are times where I think about it too. I think I definitely think about it where I'm like, man, I wish, like, I hear about things and like, man, I wish I got invited to this. But it's like, like I shouldn't get salty about it, you know? But still, a part of me kind of does, right?
Well, the converse thing that's really hard that I don't think people realize is sending out the invites is hard too. And then it's funny because it's exactly what you guys are saying. It's like being the one that reaches out is super hard, but then not getting invited is also super hard. It's hard for both parties, which makes it really interesting. And then it just becomes who's going to make the first move. And that's all it really takes, is like having that courage, I feel like.
It's also like that level of rejection. We all don't want that feeling. We don't like that uncomfortable feeling where it's just like, oh, I guess they didn't want to hang out with me. Because it's also like, I also have a group of high school friends that still reach out to me once in a while, and they're like, hey, you guys free this weekend? And it's become more of a hassle because of just my schedule. Because instead of having like them where it's like 5 days a week, I'm working 3 days, but it's always random. It's like some days they're free during the weekend, certain days I'm not free during the weekend. So it's like, oh, can't do this weekend, but please have fun, do something. And then it's also the same group. There are 2 people in our group who drive an extra 45 minutes just to hang out with us, and in my mind, I'm like, why can't I make that effort? Which I've done several times, but I need to do more, or convince the rest of the friend group, like, hey, let's either meet them halfway or meet them all the way there, and instead of like a special event like Christmas or their birthday, that we go over to that side of town just to hang out with them. Especially since they're nice enough to be like, hey Ryan, why don't you be part of our wedding and be part of the words that are escaping me, because I haven't been invited a lot of weddings. So
like you actually had a role in the wedding? Like
I'm gonna be a groomsman. There you go.
Nice.
Oh,
see,
very nice,
that's
very
awesome,
nice.
man.
Yeah. That's another thing. It's like, oh, I hope I've made some good friends there. They're like, I want Ryan at my wedding, and then it's just like,
Well, that's what gets really interesting to me too, is that part of it is like just being present and like going out there, because otherwise relationships do kind of fizzle with time.
Yeah,
It
they
becomes
do.
super easy to get super caught up. At least it's crazy because once you start working, like school is one thing, and you like get tired thinking about that, but work, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Ryan, especially because you're in nursing. Like the pressure has to be crazy there, but like work is so mentally exhausting. Is that how it is for nursing?
Mentally exhausting if I do 3 days straight. See, I don't know. Maybe it's just the way I was raised, or because this is my first job, or I haven't built like certain habits yet. Where I some days if I do really well, I leave refreshed, and you can even ask my girlfriend to be like, "Hey, how was Ryan that day?" He did great. He loved today, and I usually try to not leave with like lesser energy than when I put it, because I put in a lot of energy obviously throughout the day, but it's like energy that some like I don't know, maybe it's because I love what I'm doing, that I don't get exhausted or mentally fatigued unless the patient's family or
Well, it's like
on my
to me,
ass.
it's like a fatigue, more of not like you're exhausted. That might not be the right word, but it's like I don't really want to do anything today. I kind of want to just like I work today.
Yeah.
Only on
I
my
just
day
want to
off.
do
Only on my
anything.
days off, I'm
Shit.
already just like I don't really want to do much, but it's spent doing errands, and I didn't realize that until like I got into it, where it's just like I do my work days, and then it's like, oh yeah, I'll just bum around like I did back in college, and then I got no time to bum as much, or if I do bum, it's like you really did nothing today.
But it makes like bumming so much more precious because like you don't have the luxury of college time.
Yeah, I know. Oh my
And
gosh.
then I think that's where it like becomes super hard to maintain relationships, because you have to give up bumming, because you can't give up work for the relationships. You have
Yeah.
to give up your bumming personal time.
Your personal time for.
And that's where it like
social time.
becomes a battle of time and effort.
I do have to say I would like to shout out one of my closer friends, Jackie. He has like a weird schedule where it always meets up with mine. So I get to see him like almost bi-weekly, and I'm like, hey,
Nice.
it's nice having a friend, and he's always hitting me up, and then whenever I'm free I'll hit him up, but I need to do more of the hitting him up instead of me. Especially since we also have another friend who lives here, Kathleen. She's like, Ryan, why don't you send me your schedule? I'm like, I will do that, and then it just slips my mind.
It happens, man. Sometimes it happens. Like it's like I don't even know what it is. Like where like I still have the fights with myself. Like, oh, I should hit up this person. I should be like, hey, just check up and be like, hey, how's it going? And I don't. I'm like, oh, I'll do it later. And it's a weird struggle, cause like but it's a weird struggle. But I only like fight about it in my mind, like when I think about it, which is like not very often. Obviously, if it was like a constant thought, I'd be like, all right, forget like trying to argue about it, just do it. But like it's almost like a little moment thing, and then it fizzles, and then it's just like, oh, I have other stuff to do.
Oh, is it like that 5-second rule where it's like, so you don't make up some excuses? Is it kind of like that?
Not really. Where it's like, God, this is gonna sound terrible. And now that I've said that, I don't want to say it anymore. But it's just like
you have to.
It's almost like it's like, oh, I'll put it on the back burner. I have forever to try to reconnect with them, so I'll deal with whatever I have to deal with now. Whether that's me doing my schoolwork, me oh, I want to play like games right now. Oh, I want to I need to go to the gym. Blah blah blah. I'll figure out when I'm gonna reconnect with my friends, like later, some other time. And obviously that other time doesn't happen. And then a week later, I'm like, man, I really wish I reconnected with this person. Like it's just like it's a weird like continuous cycle of like, oh, let me push it back, and I'll do it later, kind of thing. It's like I'll do it tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes.
It's like that. It's that cliche where it's like, you don't know what you got until you don't have it anymore.
Oh
so
yeah, for sure.
I had a friend back in one of my best friends back in high school, and we were really close because just our classes always lined up together. And then I don't know what happened. Well, I kind of know what happened, but it was just like once I got into college, I just stopped talking to him. And I saw him once, and I was like, "Hey, we should do this again." And that again just never happened. Yeah, because of life happened where he's just not with us anymore. So I need to realize that, because even though I learned that lesson once, it's starting to sound like I'm learning it again. And it's like there are people on this long laundry list of on my Discord, the people I really do care about, people I could see and hit people up more. So that's one of those things I would like to take away from what we're talking about right now, because it's like, dang, I don't even I'm really bad at, I'm not good at like text conversations, because it's like I never texted back in high school. I text people, "Hey, when you coming over?" and then that's when I talk to them. But now that we're in a digital age and seems like we're all further away, I should start hitting more people up.
Yeah, it's like I've said it before. Like it's weird, like how easily connected we can be, but how disconnected like our relationships are with people. We're just like, it's so easy to reach out to someone and say hi. Like you could be across the world. I could talk to you on Facebook. You know, like I don't have to send you a letter. And it's just like
another thing about social media. It's like you have Facebook, so you see them doing their thing. It's like you touched their lives for a second. It's like, I think that's enough. I saw what they're doing. They're doing fine. They don't need to talk. But then, Facebook is not like the real thing. It's not like the real face of that person. That's just their social face. It's like, I think I was trying to tell you guys this earlier, where it's like, when you ask someone how you're doing, you only give them like the, "Oh, I'm doing fine." You don't go like, you don't just like burden them real hard with what's actually on your mind. Because I remember I had a friend in college who was like that, and that would annoy me to no end. It's just like, "Hey, how you doing?" "Oh no, man, I'm doing bad right now." And it's like, and I'm like, I have to inquire now, because I need to try and help him out of that. But then it's like, why can't we be like that? Why can't we be more open, more transparent? It's like, "Hey, how are you doing today?" "Not too great. Work was kind of lame." Or
I think it's exactly like what you said, though, because it's the fear of being like, "Oh, things aren't going too well," and it's kind of a long story, and then like you're like, "Oh, I don't really have time for this. I'm not like not to be rude, but sometimes it's just like for most people, like especially like your close friends, it's not like they're trying to be rude. It's like, no, I'm not in the good mental state to deal with a heavy conversation. Obviously, like you guys were saying, like there's like a weird stress from like just coming home from work, and like you just kind of want to chill and relax, and like some days like you may not have the patience to like listen to a long story about like someone going through like something that may seem like a minuscule problem to you, right? And then you're just gonna be snappy with them, but it's not because like you don't care about their story or about them. It's just like you kind of just caught me on a bad day. So I think it's just the stigma of like the fear of being honest, but then them being like, "Oh, I don't want to hear this." I think the worst is them being like, "I don't want to hear this," but I'll fake and be like, "Oh, because I'm your friend. Oh yeah, okay, I'll listen." And then they're just kind of like, you can almost feel that they don't want to like listen to you, but you're just like, "Screw it, I need to like vent." So I think that's kind of what it is.
I feel like we should make that a challenge or something. It's like, give your whole self into a conversation, even if it's long or arduous, or even you might gain something from it. Sometimes.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that's like something that I've been trying to do, especially because like now I'm so far away. One thing that I try to do now, more so now, is like when I text someone, I try to only text someone. Because every time I text before, I'm like doing something else. I'm like watching TV.
Exactly.
I'm always multitasking when I text. And then I started to take a step back, and now when I write a text, I want it to just be, this is my focus. And it's crazy, just like doing that and just being focused on that changes it so much, because then like it becomes so much more impactful than just being like the short 1-sentence responses. And it changes the game. For me, it's changed the game. I feel like I can have like a conversation with someone on the phone on a text message, and it feels great.
I definitely noticed that when you texted me once, and you were at a party, and we just went on. Like I didn't even like I was just like laying in bed, and I was like, oh, Matt never texts me. So it was very delightful of a conversation. We're just talking about alternate worlds and whatnot.
I remember that. See, and that's what's amazing, because there's so many texts before that they kind of fade into obscurity because they're just quick responses, which texts sometimes need to be that way.
Exactly.
But that conversation, I remember it felt like a conversation that we were having. Like it felt like we were sitting next to each other, talking to each other.
Exactly.
It's crazy because like technology can do that, or it can be, hey, where you at? Hey, we meeting up still?
Hey, ETA.
Or,
yeah. What's your ETA? I don't know. And I also need to get over like conversations on the phone. Like I'm starting to get better at phone etiquette because of work, because I now have to answer phones and call the doctors and all that, and be like, hey, oh no, the patient in this room is doing this. Do you want us to do anything? Okay. Or ICU 303, Ryan speaking. How may I help you?
Stuff like that.
Or I'm gonna have to leave messages, and I hate leaving messages, but now I got so good at that now. I'm just like, hi, this is Ryan Quintana from Memorial Regional Hospital. I have an unurgent call for the patient in this room. I just want to, again, reiterate that this is an unurgent call, and you can call me back at 954 blank 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 blank.
Man.
So
when I had to do stuff like that, like at my old job, like I would type up like what I'm gonna say, and then I would say it out loud like before calling them. Like I'd warn everybody like around me, because we just had cubicles. Be like, hey, you know, I'm not insane. I'm just going through like a voicemail message I had to do right now. And whenever someone would look at me weird, I'd be like, oh, do you want to call this student? They'd be like, hell no, I don't want to do this. I'd be like, all right, so let me do my thing, okay? So just type it out. I'd say it out loud and be like, all right, does this sound normal? And then I'd be like, okay, now we make the call. And then it's still like, I'm still like super nervous, because I know it's like, oh, they're not going to pick up. It's fine. But it's still like, even though like I'm reading it, I'm just like, oh my God. Hi, this is, fuck, what's my name? I'll call you back. Let me do it again.
hi, this is Michael. It's like, that's not my name.
shit.
Oh, that anxiety is so funny. So many phone calls like that. I think we're just a generation that don't understand phones like that. We just understand having an internet on our phone.
It's
So-
definitely like, to me, I think I see it like evolutionary. We literally have never interacted with a device like this before in our lives. Everything else before this was through our like talking
Or
face to face.
or letters. Oh, imagine not even having a phone and not even no way of communication, and the only way you can communicate is just like writing a letter. It's like, dear Matt or dear Mark.
Writing a
Today,
letter and then the time.
fantastic day. Yeah, and the time.
Yeah.
You have to wait for like the response.
It's like,
You know what's crazy is because like when letters probably first came out, there were probably people that are like, yo, fuck letters. I only like in-person conversation because I cannot write. And then we just adapted. So then people became good at writing. I think it's the same thing with texting. I think eventually we'll get better at it. It just takes some time.
it's like,
It's
where do
already
we go?
too late, man.
Where do we go from here, though?
We're old fogies.
Yeah, who knows?
It's like texting is old now.
It's exactly
Yeah,
this. It's
it's
video
that new
conferencing.
What do we
It's
do
like
now?
us in microphones talking to each other
What do
face
you
to
mean?
face.
The next is just emojis. Like they've already gone to the
all
next.
symbols.
Yeah. Whereas just
Only
you can give a whole like story in just emojis.
Well, emojis actually gets that in between where it's like, you know, when you text someone, you can find different meanings from it. At least you can emote what you're actually saying. It's like, yeah, this is actually sarcasm. I'm not being a jerk right now.
Oh God, don't even get me started with stuff like that. That's why I know my text game's weak.
I want to add this. It's like, I remember in the Epcot ball ride that It's like, in the future, you're gonna be able to speak to someone in another country through the television. It's like, oh man, that's so cool.
Oh my god,
And
dude.
then we're here. We're already here, and it's like not a big
We're
deal
doing
anymore.
it.
Is this the future?
Here
looks
we
so
are
much
in the
cooler
future.
because it seemed like it was a
and it's
hologram.
bright. Here we are in the future.
So
Oh, go ahead, Mark.
I guess this is for like everybody. For like, I guess like a conversation. I'll throw it for both. For like conversation or just even like a checkup. So we'll do a long conversation. Would you prefer like a phone call or like just text?
Both. I need to get. I would like both, but I need to do better at both of them anyway. So, time for some improvement on myself.
I think, to me, the only thing that matters, it doesn't matter the medium anymore. It's literally what we talked about before. Is when someone asks how you're doing, are they fishing for a quick response or are they fishing for a conversation? And if I know what they want, then it becomes super easy. I can either do text or a phone call, but it's like, are we both on the same page? Do we both just want to catch up with each other? Or do we both just have an objective that we're trying to accomplish? To me, that's the big difference.
I feel like for me, like I do, like I'll go through text, like I'll do the text game for a bit, but then if I know that it's gonna be like a longer conversation, I'm just more comfortable just like talking than like having to wait for a text. Like sometimes like the anticipation of like waiting for a text kind of kills me. We're just like we're having like a deep like conversation, and all of a sudden like it stops for like 15 minutes, and I'm like, man, what the heck happened? So
in
at least
that moment,
go ahead.
In that moment, you just enjoy each other's in silence. You know, you don't get to enjoy each other's silence.
Enjoy the silence, man. It drives me mad. So that's why, like,
no,
if I
it's
know,
like when you finally get to a point in your relationship with another friend, it's like I'm able to have a conversation and just sit there and have silence and enjoy each other's presence.
Man, I can't do that. For me, like, that's why I'm like, I'd rather just talk in person. So then, like, I guess like that's my big fear, where it's just like, oh, like, are they typing something or are they busy? They're not gonna be like, oh, I'm busy real quick. This is gonna be a couple minutes, you know? Like, if we're like in the middle of like a long conversation text, and I'm just like waiting, I'm just like, well, do I go do something else now, or do I just like sit and wait? So that kind of bugs me. That's why I think that's why I prefer phone calls. But it's also like I'm more comfortable just like just like listening, like just listening to voices or hearing inflections of like how someone says things. Like I feel like it's definitely easier to read emotions or like feelings through someone's voice than through like a text.
That's fair. I think the thing about text is it gives you a lot of room to make assumptions, and it depends on how you think about things. That can be really dangerous or not. It could be nothing. Because I think like what Ryan, it was interesting. One of my friends literally was like, hey, are you just ignoring my texts? They straight up just asked me that because I like sometimes don't respond after a while. I'm like, no. But what I do is I don't want to spend the time texting you if you don't get the time you deserve. So like if it's a deep conversation, I'm not going to sit there and just give you a bunch of one-word sentences. I'm just not going to respond, and then when I get back to it, I'm going to give you a full response. But that's not my fault. That's their fault because they're thinking I'm ignoring them, and that's just not how it works. But then I had to explain that, and then they're like, okay, I understand now.
Reminds me of Intro to Calm. Calm 101.
Is that really? Is that it?
That was something that they touched upon. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And just first thing you learn, communication's permanent, and then it's like it's based on the perception of the person. Oh, okay. Whatever.
So that's what I think is super cool about this podcast is like it gives us the opportunity to catch up with us.
Yes, I feel like this weekend, as great as it was, I missed a lot of time actually catching up with both of you because we were in our own like our own priorities in that party, you know. I want to do these long conversations, but I feel like I personally can't do that kind of setting where it's like so many people and the alcohol has just definitely just changed. And I don't know why I had a goal of getting to 100 shots of White Claw, but that's what happened. And in that mess, I realized, hey, Matt's here, and I didn't get to talk to him.
Did you get to 100?
It's tough.
100, yes.
Oh, that's amazing.
And then I threw up 10 or 20 minutes later. I don't have any recollection of time after that. Like, I do remember what happened. It's just I vividly remember throwing up. It's the only thing, and that's the...
So would you say you blacked out?
No. I remember everything.
Damn it.
But it is interesting, because like, I feel like at a party, I always go with the flow. I like never, unless I'm like talking to a girl, I never have a plan where I'm like, oh, I want to have a one-on-one conversation with this person. I kind of just drink and enjoy it, and then I let myself autopilot to
you go wherever it takes you.
To, or what I end up doing.
See, and I'm also like, dang, and this is a conversation I want to get into, where it's just like, in these parties, am I trying to recapture something from my past?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we, all three of us together, share so many great memories because we partied together. But it's like, but we also missed out on these like one-on-one conversations, and we also autopilot as well. So when we do drink, are we just trying to recapture like the good old days of college and forgetting how to create? Instead, we should be wanting to have more new experiences shared between us three or with others as well. I don't know where I was going with that, but I was just I do want to feel like I shouldn't be drinking this much. I know where my limits are. I should be drinking enough to be casual enough to be able to speak to you guys, you know? Instead of like getting hammered and then, let's see if I could jump off this roof. Or, go ahead.
But I think that's where it's really interesting, is I think we're in a phase where we're starting to transition.
Yes.
I think in college, that's the thing, which is fair. Yes. But I think we were already starting to get cognizant of it. I think now we're doing it more for nostalgia's sake, but we're already starting to get to a point where we can just sit down and have a real conversation, and it's perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. But I think we're still in like the growing period, because I think, truth be told, we're not all completely out of college, right? Like, you just got out a year ago.
Yeah.
Mark's going through it right now. Like, I think we're still
in school, baby.
in a phase that we're transitioning out of.
Well, we're also like older than college age, so there's a difference. We're like, there's a level of maturity.
College is
You're
for
also
everybody, man.
maturity. You're mature now. Not like university college. Like, you're in like, I'm actually trying to learn college. Like, that's what my nursing school is all about. I'm actually here to learn and not here for the socialization.
The thing that I think is super interesting, though, is I think it actually gets a little bit worse once you get into a professional world.
Yeah.
Because everyone now, what for me, what was interesting was like, you have to put yourself out there so much more to get the real people in a work setting. Like, you have to be willing to really show your hand and show who you are. And because of that, it becomes harder to connect, at least for me, unless I have like a drink with me. And we get happy hour after work, and then I can like speak my mind a little bit more freely. Yeah. And I think I'm like starting to realize, like, man, that's probably not healthy. I need to be able to just do that anyways, and have the courage to share who I really am, and hope they'll meet me halfway.
I think like I think it's almost like socially acceptable. I want to say, where it's just like even though like you've come to the understanding, like, oh, maybe like I shouldn't have a drink to have this conversation. It does help. Like, I know for me, like, sometimes I'll do that because I'm like, it helps me like kind of like open up more. You know, I think with most people when they get drunk, they're more willing to just be open. So I mean, maybe I'm making like a crazy assumption, but I think even like the person that you're asking to get like a drink with before like having like a deep conversation, I think it helps them too. Where it's just like I feel bad for saying it like this, but it's like when I know that they've like had like a drink or two, like I can poke deeper into them. You know, like it's like I don't have to like be cognizant of just like oh, they may not want to talk about this. Like I can try to like be like, oh, do you want to like dive deeper into like a conversation here? Like where like it's almost like my walls are down, my shields are down, you know. But I
think it also changes just the fact that it's something to do after work, and it's like a chance to meet someone outside of the environment. And it's just something to do. Don't get me wrong, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think getting drinks is perfectly fine. To me, it's the same idea as getting coffee with somebody. Mm-hmm. It's literally just an excuse to get to know someone or have a real conversation with somebody. That's the real why we're getting drinks. And as long as we're cognizant of that, then it's fine. Mm-hmm. But if we're drinking because we're in pain and we're not talking about it, then there's an issue.
Right.
But if you know why you're drinking, it's the same thing with coffee, right? If you're drinking coffee because you like the energy, it makes you feel productive, and like all that, that's fine. I think that's like the big differentiating factor where it becomes a problem versus like it's a social thing.
Interesting.
Those are interesting thoughts.
What about you, Ryan? How do you feel about that? Like just like
drinking and getting to know someone after work, or drinking with them after work?
Like,
well,
yeah.
I haven't really explored that just yet, but I feel like there's just enough time in the day where you can you learn little bits of pieces of information about certain people that you're with constantly every day, you know. Mm-hmm. It's like you pick up on something and it's like, hey, I remember you have this child, how is she doing? And then it's like I feel like I should start like writing certain things down so it's like I can remember, and then we can keep a conversation going. It's like make a friend book. It's like, here's my friends and employees nursing book. But it's just that's just another thing. I think it's just the art of conversation that I need to learn, because there's some things I learned in nursing school where it's like you can pry into a patient's thing by like doing certain ways of saying. It's like a thing called therapeutic communication, and you just need to find certain ways to say it where you open up a dialogue. So, and obviously, other than the certain medications that can lead to them being like drunk,
a little too open.
Yeah, you can find a way to open up a conversation. Like you see them and it's like, hey, you seem very this, and even if it's wrong, you just opened up a dialogue where it's just like, oh no, I don't feel like that. I just feel this, and this, and then there's another way to like pry into someone's mind where it's just like, hey, what's on your mind right now? Because, you know, for them, there's a lot on there. They're thinking about, oh, I'm in the hospital right now. I have a job. I need to get money. I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. I don't know when I'm going to get sick. All these things are going through their minds. And then when you ask them that, it's like, oh, I just have a lot on my mind. It's like, go on, tell me more. And it's like another thing that's just like punches right into a conversation from right there.
That's super interesting. So like,
yeah.
From your experience, what are like the top 3 phrases that you usually use to like start that therapeutic conversation?
From what I remember in nursing school, it's like, tell me more about this. Because instead of saying, because when you say something like that, you're not asking a yes or no question. Because if you're just like, oh, are you feeling okay? Yes, that's the end of the conversation. Tell me more about your pain level, or tell me more about how your day went, or tell me more as to why.
Yeah, it's like
why. Another thing that I learned is like, why is an awful question. Always a bad way to word something, because when you ask why, most people will get
defensive.
Yeah, they get defensive because of how that word is. So, like even now, if I say it now, you're gonna be like, oh, now that's your way of saying why. but it's like, what made you do that? Or what was your thought process on doing this, and this?
It's like a more directional, like, why? Like, it's just like, I guess it's like what we said too, like, where like, just like a shorthanded, like, conversation, like 1 or 2 words. Sometimes you just feel insulted, like, it's just like, no, like, give me like a full response kind of thing. Where it's just like, you just get rebuttal with like a 1-word thing, it's just like, what? Like,
yeah,
just
and
having,
I
like,
think
go ahead.
it's like, tell me more is like another way of, it's like, you're actually interested in them. You're actually wanting more. And then there's this whole thing about like, when you ask a question, you should use your heart, and that's a whole nother story where it's like, oh, I really want to help you out today. Tell me how this happened. The head is to tell me more about this. I want to make sure you're doing fine. And then you lead with the heart because you're thinking about them at the end of the day, at the beginning and the end. But yeah, so what's on your mind? Tell me more, and what made you do that?
Ooh, that's like the other way to ask why. What made you?
Yeah, yeah. What made you? What made you do Borderlands today instead of your homework?
Oh, that's like super
My
interesting.
addiction. I admit it, it's a problem, okay? I understood it when I was driving. I was like, I could easily turn back around and just play Borderlands. Why can't I just fast travel to Valencia West Campus?
Too bad with fast travel, it's like you lose the time anyways. It's like you black out and you wake up and it's like, oh, I'm here, but where did all that time go?
Dang it.
It's gone.
Wait a second. Did we autosave?
I hope I auto-saved. There's only one way to find out.
Yeah, so can you tell us? So tell us more about nursing. I think it's like really interesting because it's a completely different industry. Like, it's cool that you even learn how to have conversations at nursing. Have you like learned, like, what have you learned? Tell us about what you've learned in nursing in your. Have you? I heard it. You're about to hit your 1 year.
Actually, not. It was my 1 year of graduation, and then I actually started on November 28th, but that's not really actually starting. But nursing teaches you so much about other people and how to handle yourself. Like, one of the biggest things I've learned about myself is I can't change how a person reacts, but I can change, like, or I can't change the environment that I'm in. I can change how I react to it, a situation, how I handle this situation. That's one of the biggest things that makes my day more bearable and less likely for me to be tired, like exhausted or dead at the end of the day, because it's like, this happened, how's that going to make me feel, or how am I going to address it myself? Because I could look at I could have a patient's family get really mad at me because I don't know this and this, but then I can change, and then I can be mad myself, but that's a lot of energy. Being mad, if I don't know about you guys, but when I get angry, I use up a lot of energy, and it's like exhausting just being mad. And then it's like, I don't know, for me, my preceptor was really cool and always has like this positive energy around her, and it's hard to be mad at the day when you have someone so positive and you want to be as positive as her. So I started adopting certain things. Like, he was really angry at me. Does that mean I lash out? It's like, no, I need to think, maybe put myself in his shoes. He's mad probably because he doesn't have control of the situation that he's in. We're telling him he's taking this medication, he needs to do this, and this. He doesn't know when he's going to get out of the hospital. We don't know when he's going to get out of the hospital. So the one way he can gain control back in his life right now is telling me what to do. It's like, or lashing out. It's like, can you get me a glass of water? Or it's like, okay, I get it. Or, why aren't you doing this for my mom? It's like, why aren't you fluffing her pillow? And it's like, I didn't fluff her pillow because I have other things to do. But if I were to reframe it, and I'm like, all right, they're concerned about their family, and if there's one thing that they're able to focus on and fix, it's that pillow. So let me take care of that pillow for them. I know it's a little extra work, could be a little bit harder. That's one thing I learned from nursing.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Kind of a stupid question, but so it sounds like you've learned a lot from the experience and stuff, but you mentioned your preceptor. So
Yes.
like from ignorant, I don't know that much about the healthcare hospital. What's a preceptor?
What that is.
Preceptor is like the person who is acquainting you to the floor. This is the person who is teaching you what you need to do, what are the most important things. Like, they're basically a teacher in a way, but at least they're training you basically.
So are they like a supervisor for like the floor? Like, I guess like is like, do they have like a preceptor like position, or is it more of just like, oh, this is like, I guess if I had to put it something relatable, is it like a big brother big sister sort of program where it's just like,
It's
oh, you
exactly
know, they're
that.
my mentor?
They're not like the supervisor of the floor. They're assigned to you, and you follow them and you learn their habits.
Okay.
And they teach you. There's like a class where it's like, so they're just another nurse on the floor. They have probably like 2 years or even more, and they took a class on precepting. They're the people who are like showing you the ropes basically. So they're just a nurse, you're just a nurse, you're a new nurse, and they're like, hey, so this is what's on the floor looks like, this is where you can get your medications. And then for me, since it's ICU, they're teaching me more about other nursing things, stuff that I didn't learn in nursing school, because nursing school only was like, hey Ryan, here's a little bit of knowledge, and this will help you pass the NCLEX, which just teaches you how to. They just want you to be a competent nurse. What the preceptor, yeah. So the preceptor is there to teach and guide you to be your own nurse, basically.
So is your preceptor like your Dr. Cox?
Yes, my
Gotcha.
Dr. Cox. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, and if you're an FSA, it's like your Kui and Ate. But
Your
or
senpai.
mentor mentee, yeah, basically mentor mentee, more like a mentor mentee, honestly, yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about your preceptor then. Are you like, were you assigned to her, or was she assigned to you like right when you started, and so she's been there for you this whole like?
Fun fact: I had 2 preceptors. So my first preceptor, real cool guy, young man. He showed me the ropes. He actually taught me how to do the charting. He taught me so many like the deeper critical thinking tools. And then it's like what the preceptor is supposed to do. And then they assigned me to another one because of certain things that happened with other nurses, so they felt like I was in a learning environment, but I felt like I was learning a lot from him. It's just, I guess they didn't like the hostility that was happening. Maybe something was I recently learned that maybe he was not in a good spot when he was still trying to teach me, because life was happening, like he was going through like a breakup at the time. But
Yeah, personal stuff.
yeah, personal stuff was making it harder for him to try and teach me. So I understand why they had to take me out, bench him for a little bit. And then my new preceptor, super cool, super smart. You know, they're both smart. So that's one thing I wanted. And then I don't know, I just like the relationship I had with them. So next week, I'm not this week, because this week she just gets back from Ireland because she's been off for 2 weeks. So this week we're just gonna work together. So basically we just work together as 2 nurses, and then it's like as time goes on, you're supposed to feel like you can do stuff by yourself, which I feel like I am. So next week I'm gonna have my own patients, and she's gonna have her own patients, and then from there I'll always have someone in the room with me who I can ask questions, where it's like, hey, what do you think I should do about this, and this, and then like, or I should be able to do stuff on my own. And if I have a bigger question, it's like, hey, what do I do about this? So
True.
So she,
it's also
to phase out.
yes,
But she's still like your net in a certain sense.
Yeah, it's like a safety.
well,
net
now
kind of
she's gonna be less of my net because I'm gonna be doing my own patients. So, and then it's just a good practice to teach their the new grads, hey, you always have help on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Just remember that this is the person you have been assigned to for a while, so she'll always help you. But remember, there's other people on the floor
Yeah.
to talk to. So,
cool.
that's the biggest that was the coolest thing about being on my floor, is that I never feel like I don't have a safety net because of the way they built it, where it's just everyone's just caring enough to try and help each other out. No one's
awesome.
no one's an island.
That's cool that they have the philosophy where it's just like you should be more scared of not asking for help for something you don't know how to do than like asking literally anybody on the floor who may know it.
I think that just comes with trying to build a culture, and that's like one of the biggest things with hospitals and administration. They're like, oh, how do we build a culture? It's like it's the people you have and how they're raised.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're raised somewhere else, some way else, they're not gonna probably want to do the new way that you're trying to implement.
That's super cool. That's a really cool system.
Yeah.
So, are you now at? I mean, it sounds like you're comfortable now handling your own patients, which is awesome.
Yes. So
Nice.
Nice, man.
I feel like I'm able to do it. It's just once I reach that third day, my brain becomes like a little putty. It's like 3 days straight is a battle.
True.
Like the first day, you're like, oh, okay, I got this. Second day, you're like, okay, just one more day. You're looking forward to the next day. But I've changed my mentality. It's like, my preceptor is also very wise because she's just like 63 years old. She has like that old lady wisdom. Where it's just like, it's like, you know what? I see that I have 3 days in a row. Take it one day at a time, because if you have it all at once, you're gonna feel overwhelmed. And then she's also has like this mentality where it's like, instead of suffering twice, like thinking about something that's gonna happen in the future and then dealing with that thing in the future, you basically suffered twice. through it. So live in the now kind of thing. So that really helped learn to live in the now, not worry about my mistakes. And then that's also another cool thing about the culture. It's like mistakes happen, we're human. We don't punish you for it, but we also want to make sure you're accountable for your own actions. So it's like they're not going to slap me on my wrist. They want you to report a mistake instead of you being like sweeping it under the rug. Like, oh, that wasn't me, that was that guy. So it breeds a culture of accountability.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dang, man.
It makes it so much more like team oriented, and it just sounds like a really good environment.
I think that's just my floor, my unit, honestly, because I listen to my other friends who are like, yeah, I have 6 patients and I have to do this, and this, and then, but there are times where they're saved by like their charge nurse who is just like, this patient is very like, you gotta take care of this patient. We'll take care of your others. And it's like, oh, thank you. It's just like he's just like irrigating a Foley or like basically clearing out a tube.
Yeah, I don't want to go into those details.
Yeah, of course not.
I'll pass out.
Yeah. I won't tell you.
I feel like you have to do something like that for like, especially for a hospital, like where it's just like, obviously you have the technical side of it, but like you're also dealing with people. Like it's like, I definitely thought about it, like where it's just like, it's strange how much of a customer service job nursing is, because you have to deal with patients, you have to deal with like their families when they're visiting and like all that stuff, and it's just like learning how to be like a people person. Like if your environment around you, like the people you work with that you see every day, if that feels like hell, or if that's like really negative and bad, when you have to go deal with a person, like you're gonna carry that with you, and then it's just gonna like snowball downhill. So So like just making sure that like you're doing what you can to create a positive environment around you. So then like, you know, when you go talk to a patient or a patient's family or something like that, like you can also carry that with you, and then that helps you, you know, communicate with them better and smoother. Like hopefully things don't go wrong, but then obviously if it does, you still have like your positive like support group behind you that has your back, as opposed to being like, oh, you know, this patient's like family like berated me about all this stuff, and then you go back to like, you know, the people that you work with, and they're just as like negative about things to you, like, oh Ryan, why aren't you doing this? Ryan, you should have been doing this, and blah blah blah. And it's just like, it's just a weird escalation of trouble, or even like
the way you just described that, it felt like I felt like I was just being beaten down slowly and slowly. So it's like, at least there's someone that I have where I'm just like, oh, I don't know about what I need to do about this. And it's like, it's okay. Just take it. Just think about your priorities, and just remember that patient comes first, and you gotta do it, and everything else takes secondary. And then also remember, you're number one in this. You can't take care of another patient if you can't take care of yourself. So it's really, really interesting that the way I got my preceptor. They're both the best. And I feel definitely very blessed to be on the floor I'm at, because I'm scared to move to another hospital, but it's gonna happen in time, because that's just how the world is. I don't know what I'm gonna see myself into, but like I said, don't look into the future. Don't suffer twice through it, right?
Don't worry about it now.
Yeah.
Worry about it when you get there.
Yeah.
You just gotta bring your positive energy over there. Then you could be like the shining sun for them.
Yeah, I would love to be that person.
There you go, man.
And I also learned something a long time ago, where it's like, if you try to smile at the beginning of your day, the chemicals in your body will, like, you have to force a smile for like at least 20 or 25 minutes.
Oof. That's rough, man.
So you're just like this, and then your body, like, your body chemistry goes into thinking that it's happy, and then you become a positive person.
Interesting.
I don't know if that's true, but it's been working so far.
That's actually science.
Yeah.
It's funny. It works both ways.
Yeah.
You do both. Like, if you force yourself to smile, your brain releases the what's it called, neurotransmitters,
Neurotoxins,
and vice versa when you are happy. But it's really hard. I mean, it's hard to force yourself to smile sometimes. But
when I'm driving to work,
it hurts, man.
That's why I'm
cheeks, dude.
Yeah, that's why it's a workout. We need to get weights for this. Like, even if you don't feel it, just hold that smile for like while you're driving to school, and then see how different your day get.
Yeah.
So that's my challenge to you. But I don't know, you know, it's different for different people.
But you gotta start somewhere, man. You never know.
Yeah.
Challenge yourself. Challenge yourself to be better. That's cool.
Yeah, and then being out of school just feels great. I've been only in school. School just breaks you down. Like, it's like not getting the right grades, Ryan. But if you fail out of this, that means you have to take the class over again. And if you fail that means you get kicked out of the school. And then what are you gonna do? Like, I don't want these thoughts. Get out of my head.
it goes back to what you said earlier.
Yeah.
You're worrying twice.
Yeah, I'm worrying twies.
It's like such a good little tidbit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I know we're like the 10 o'clock mark, so I want to also transition this to another conversation.
Word.
So I've heard that we've been talking a lot about work and connecting and stuff. What about you, Ryan? I've heard you've been working on some, learning some new skills. How's that journey going?
I'm just as bad at trying to get my new skills in order because of how my day goes. Because it's like, I get off work and I'm like, I'm off on work. I wake up and I'm like, let me spend some time watching YouTube, even though, because it's like, again, I'm procrastinating. I'm like, I'm watching these videos and they're just like making me a very passive human being. But my things that I want to learn is like, I just want to pick up a new hobby, and I want I want to work on what's it called? I'm trying to learn another language because English is my first, and I struggled through learning that. So let's see if I can. It's gonna be hard the second time.
You don't need no other language, baby. USA #1. Only English, baby.
I speak American. Please do not learn American. Learn to speak American. What are you doing here?
It would be great if everyone just spoke one language and everyone could just communicate. But no, we do have to have multiple languages.
Yeah.
So how are you? What's your strategy right now for learning your second language? Are you doing an app? Are you?
Oh my gosh! So I did an app for a while. I was in nursing school. I was on top of Duolingo. So when I see these memes about people with the freaking owl and he pops up, he's like, "Oh, you didn't do your hour today. You didn't do your 5 lessons today." I'm like, "Yeah, I know I didn't do my 5 lessons, but I got through the whole curriculum and remembered nothing."
Ooh, dang. Oof.
I was able to. I don't remember. It was just I just remember a bunch of circles with different pictures in it, and then sometimes they have 10 out of 10, and some of them have only 5 out of 5 lessons in one. But the thing is that it became more of a game. I didn't do it for the learning because I turned it into oh, let me just get through this. It's not like I'm forcing myself to learn it. I knew my conjugations from high school when I learned Spanish. Because that's the language I'm trying to learn.
What is wait, do you know what that means? Do you know what abogados mean, Ryan?
Abogados? Isn't that lawyers?
Abogados.
And then it's even funnier. I was like, yo necesito abogados to talk to you once, but the word I was actually thinking about was meatballs instead of lawyers.
Dante just freaks out. I was like, what?
So she's like, oh yeah, of course you need lawyers. You're a nurse. And then I was like, no. Abondigas. Abondigas is, I think, meatballs because I haven't had meatballs. Yeah. So I was like, yes. Funny. I just wanted some meatballs, actually. I need meatballs right now because I haven't eaten any in a while.
But you knew lawyers. So that's pretty good.
Well, that's because I had a story. I had a story tied to it. I need to...
You gave it meaning.
Yeah, I need more of that, Slumdog Millionaire thing where it's like an experience is tied to a word, and then now I'll remember this word forever. But there's things that I picked up in... the best way I was trying to learn was getting more Spanish patience, and when I had my first preceptor, he was a fluent Spanish speaker, so I would just absorb. I was a sponge. I would sponge their conversation, see what he would do, learn the most important things when I'm trying to assess my patients. So I'm just respire profundo, so it's deep inhale, or you're commanding them to. So, but yeah, back to Duolingo. I made it a game where I was able to figure out, oh, this means this means this, but there was not a cumulative learning experience where it's you had to try and match things because it's it was a pattern. I figured out the pattern. I knew how to answer everything.
It's
but you didn't learn.
You answered it correctly to get it correct.
Yeah, I did it so many other times that I already knew it, and I knew specific words, so I would use context clues to fill it in. So what I did learn was I'm really good at reading certain sentences in Spanish. So when I read subtitles, I can't hear it because I was good at reading it. But now I can't. I can't
speak it or hear.
I can't hear it verbally. Yeah, so I need to hear it twice when someone says it, and I'm I need to visualize it in my head, and it's oh, you mean this, and then I say it in English, and then I realize I could have said it in Spanish because it needs to translate over. So that was my one thing with Spanish that I'm still getting used to, and yeah. Sometimes there's people who ask me, it's there's no Spanish speakers on the floor, or they can't get a hold of someone's Spanish, and then it's what do you need me to say? And it's I don't know, just tell them this. And I'm with my broken ass Spanish, I'm just I have this medication because it's the same. This medication is the same in English. It's like so it's like I have this, and this, and it's like it's para, and then that's as fluent as I can get because I know like certain body parts. And oh man, I don't even know what that is. Yeah, it'll come to me.
But I feel like that does help, right? Like even just like, I guess for like a interpersonal experience where it's just like if you try to speak Spanish to like a patient, like even if it's broken, I feel like that does like help, almost like comfort them that like you're trying. It's like they know you're not fluent in Spanish, but at least like you're trying to like, you know, help them and be there for them. So I feel like even though like maybe Duolingo wasn't the best resource to learn, if you can still like grab the small bits that you did learn and use that in like practical life, I still think that's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm thinking like now that I'm saying it, I'm gonna have to make a schedule of my days off because that's what worked for me in college. On my days off, I would like spend certain time with homework because if I just go winging my day doesn't have structure and I won't do the things that I want to do, and it'll be me on for 13 hours on YouTube.
You just block it off and make like a timesheet of like, all right, this is the amount of time I have. Here's what I can block for like this time.
Yeah.
Is that what you're gonna start doing?
Yeah, it worked for me in college. I just need to buckle down and not be a little baby about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt, do you know anything?
Every morning, that's what I do. Is I put my whole calendar in like 30-minute blocks each morning.
Do you know a good way to do that?
To learn language or to?
Well, for like just like blocking like a calendar schedule.
I do it in Google Calendar. Actually, so I like basically run my life through Google Calendar.
Because I haven't. I mean, I have like obviously I have Google Calendar on my phone, but I haven't like fully explored it.
And like make every day like.
Does it let you like
certain things?
Yeah. So what I do is like I have a recurring thing at like 6:30 in the morning on weekdays, and then at 10 a.m. on weekends, and it's like I call it Pomo planning. I don't know if you guys have you guys heard of Pomodoros?
Yes, I used that a lot in college.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
I'm like a firm believer in that whole concept, like the 25-minute work time, 5-minute breaks, 25-minute work time, 5-minute breaks. So I do everything in like 30-minute intervals.
Yeah,
I can add in the 5-minute break into it. And then I mean it really does help. I mean it just like keeps you accountable. So I'm a huge believer for that.
Yeah, because it's like in that's 5 minutes, it like gives your brain a rest because your brain wouldn't be like able to accumulate more things outside of the 30 minutes. That's why it's like some teachers are like, yeah, you guys already dozed off into another world because you'd only recollect what's happened in the first 30 minutes of this class. So that's why we need those breaks.
Yeah, I read a book by Daniel Pink. It's basically like his argument is like instead of the power of why, it's like the power of when. And it like the whole book is him talking about things like the importance of breaks, when to spend, like certain humans are more creative at certain hours than other hours in the day, and like understanding what your schedule is like, when it's best to do the creative thinking and best to do the I just need to get stuff done thinking, like respond to emails or you know,
like autonomous
rent.
things.
Yeah, the things where you don't have to think, but you want to be productive anyways. So then it's like also interesting because now I do more creative stuff in the morning, like writing, and then towards the end of the day I do more stuff where I don't have to think, I just have to execute, like laundry or anything.
So what's the best time for learning?
It depends.
It depends on the person, right?
The way the book starts is you have to figure out your own schedule.
Sorry, Ryan.
You start documenting.
Can't give you your answers.
When do you do it?
I already did a lot of self-learning.
It's like, yo, can I copy your homework?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do.
Change it a little bit.
Oh, so you do a little bit of writing in the morning, so that means I could do some Spanish in the morning.
I think it does help just to like try it out and just see what works for you.
Yeah, you know, now that you mention it, there's something that I need to really get good at, and you just mentioned it, is reading a book like even if it's like a self-help book or anything, man, like reading has been like one of my worst subjects. And it's like, how did you get through anything if you didn't read, Ryan? And saying, well, I found a way, but like
Don't
I
worry,
remember
dude.
back
I'm there with you.
it's like back when I was in elementary school, reading was the worst to me. I just hated every second of it. It was so boring. I was so scared. I remember every time they did popcorn reading, I knew I was coming up, I would read ahead because I didn't want to sound stupid, or read slowly because I know what it felt like when someone was just like 1, 2, 3. It's like I want to read ahead, and if I made a mistake, I ball up because like I can't believe I did that. I read that word wrong. So I guess I hold that, and then reading counts was the worst for me because like, oh yeah, you have to take a test and you have to read at least like 4 different books by the end of the quarter so you can get this grade. And I'm like, none of these books are interesting to me, you know?
Wait, can we expand on that? Because I don't think Mark, you probably didn't do it because we went to the same schools. So like, Ryan, what's reading counts? Like you have a list of books?
So reading counts was just like our school's initiative to make the kids read more. So what they would do is, let's say, this is the wrong book I grabbed. Anyways,
It's a dictionary.
Good luck with that, man. I gotta read one of those at some point too.
Yeah, I would not want to read that book either, Ryan. That's pretty boring.
Yeah.
Yo,
So
I'm still
let's
on
say
the
we
A's.
have the Prince, right? We have a list of all these scholastic books. They're all scholastic.
Right now.
I have the Almist. So all these scholastic books, and they've turned them into quizzes. So they're just like, it's a retention game. So in middle school, not only were we reading the book that the teacher assigned us, which was like, I don't know, Gulliver's Travels.
Kill a Mockingbird. Or...
To Kill a Mockingbird. Yeah,
God,
some
what grade?
stupid shit.
Jeez. That's deep.
Well, reading counts for like since 4th grade to 8th grade. And they added it. It's like they would give us like an hour or 30 minutes of reading every day, and I would fall asleep reading. But the problem is that when what they score you on is a 10 questions on that book. And I'm like, I want to get like and each book, let's say, since this book is pretty long for an 8th grader, but some books were longer than others, and with them being longer, they would rack up more points. So if you got your goal was 20 points at the end of each quarter, right? And you're reading a book, you have to get 10 you gotta get 70 out of 10. I mean 70 out of 100, which is 7 questions. And they're like very minute details of this book, something that I would have not grasped because I'm already reading another book, and then I would just confuse the 2 books. So that was my problem, and I hated it. And then getting into high school, I hated reading more because it's like I don't know, I just felt like I didn't have time to read, or I wasn't giving myself time to read because I would rather play video games at the end of the day with my friend. Or I would put priority on another class, or I would do what I'm best at, like math or science, over reading. I don't know, The Great Gatsby.
It's kind of just like already ingrained, like at an early age, that reading isn't fun. You know, like it's a chore, it's work. Like, why am I gonna do this? So almost like, you know, like you said, when I transition to like high school, it's just like, well, I don't want to do this.
So now I'm trying to regain that leisurely reading, but then there's so much things that are consuming my day. I'm making excuses. I need to learn how to read better. I need to find the joy of reading because there's so much out there, and it could be better than anime. I don't know. There's stories like that. I know.
What?
It could be better than That's the one thing. But then it's also like my job needs reading, my life needs reading. I need to see those minute details, slow down, see the world. I don't know. That's just how I see it when it comes to reading.
It's really interesting because like we had a similar program, but it was optional for us. It was called our Accelerated Reader program, and basically you get points for it, and then you get prizes based off the points.
Yeah.
They didn't make reading fun for us.
Like, for us, like it was required. You had to have read like a certain amount of books, and like there's like a bare minimum that you had to do for the Accelerator Reader program. But
Right.
like when you would rack up points, you could trade those points in for prizes. So there was an incentive to like read. Like, yes, we saw the same thing. Like, depending on the length of the book, you'd have like weird quizzes that you would have to take for you to get like a point value for reading the book. Obviously, if you failed the quiz, you know, you would just have to reread the book and like, all right, you know the questions now, and you can, you know, do it again that way. But like, I definitely remember that. But it was fun because two reasons: they had a leaderboard of like who was like the top points in the class. So there's like a little bit of competition there. But like just the idea of like, oh, I'm reading, so I can save up for this prize. That was just like, oh, okay, I'll read this stupid book. Give me the biggest book. Give me the book that's worth the most points.
Speaking of the biggest book that was worth 96 points that people always wanted to try and get those 96 points was Mein Kampf.
What?
For a middle school kid?
Interesting.
Yeah,
Jesus.
so funny. Everyone was just like, it's my turn. I'm gonna try and read this book.
I'll take the challenge.
Alright, Adolf Hitler, teach me.
Man, that program, it was really fun, but I was really pissed off because for our year, one of the ladies that was managing the book list, her kid was in my grade level.
Oh.
Right.
And he read a Harry Potter book, and then it wasn't in the list, and then she added it to the list, and it was like 18 points because those were like big books back in the day.
Oh my god, yeah. That
That's the worst,
happened.
man.
Kind of like that. There was a Harry Potter's on our thing, but they used to be like 46 points, so you could read one and then you'd be done.
Yeah.
But the thing is that once the movies came out, they significantly dropped it down to like 10 points. And
Right, because you'd almost just watch the movie and just answer the quiz.
And I was about to do that. Actually, then they banned it because it's like, nope, we're not just giving you free points anymore. It's like, no, my one way out.
But I think like when it comes to reading, that's the thing that's really important is like you get to choose the book now. So it's like literally just finding the things that you find interesting, which like to me is really fun now. So I can go to a bookstore and like I don't know what I'm gonna buy, but I'll like see a cover that looks fascinating or a title, and then I'll like read the back and I'll be like, this looks really boring. Put it back, and I'll find something. Like my goal is to find one thing that I find interesting and just read it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually read a book recently for the first time. I actually read a book leisurely and finished it, and it was Ready Player One.
Ooh.
And I always hated those Harry Potter people who were like, I read the book and this didn't happen in the movie. And then I was like, I hope I don't become that kind of person. And then I watched Ready Player One. I was just like, oh my god,
Movie sucked.
what did they do to this movie? What did they do to the book? This is so strange.
Yeah, that was a shame. Have you read Ender's Game?
Let me add that to the list of books.
That's
pretty good.
the people that like Ready Player One usually like Ender's Game.
Okay.
I would recommend it. It's like a little bit older now, but it's a pretty good one. Also another one where the movie, I didn't even watch the movie because their hair is terrible. But it was another one of those where I was kind of like, I was definitely one of those people.
Yeah. So
Highly recommend.
I know now that if I read a book, that
Yeah, I feel like it's strange. Like, as a kid, like your topics are sort of strange, but as an adult, like you have the world to read, pretty much, right?
the world.
The world. But like,
Yeah.
like it, like if you've already been trained to like dislike books, like for me it was like in high school where it's just like we had to read books, we had to like super analyze them, and there are times where I just got fed up with it, where it's like, what if the author just wrote this because it was good story? What if he didn't really have like a deep meaning, like, oh, this one phrase was about like an impactful moment in their life that explained their whole life's meaning and reasoning. It's like, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Have you asked him? Like I got to that and I got annoyed where it's just like, it just seemed like things just seemed too like, it was just hyper analyzing things and just writing about it. So like I just like, I don't like reading books. But like now I'm just like, man, I feel like a dummy.
Do you see this like this one word he used? He used that word for this reason. It's like,
for a reason.
The word he.
So I'm gonna be on the completely other side of the spectrum. Is I love that. Because I don't know, like, if you guys ever even thought about trying to write a book before?
No, but I love the idea of storytelling.
No, because I hate books.
YouTube, I watch so many videos of like the hero's journey, or like someone breaking it down into like the or like even making it short, like the character wants this, so the character goes out to get it. The character runs into this, a new status quo is made, and I'm like, that's the simplest story you can write.
Yeah.
But you can apply it to so many different things. And I'm like, I remember when I was making videos, I would try and make I would try and make a story like that. So yes, I understand your idea when it comes to like writing a book, because it's like, it's tough, and that's why I want to read more, because there's probably better storytelling. It's more detailed than like a movie can ever be. So go with what you're saying.
It's a refined craft that we don't.
Yeah. To me, I mean, the way I see it, well, I think for me, the way I look at writing is like, it's like literally someone putting an idea on paper. I mean, it's like anything you ever create, right? You're like putting your soul out there. But when a book, you're doing it for like 400 pages, and you just hope someone will read it. You have no idea if someone actually will.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I think I have nothing but respect for the art. But then I also think there are bad writers out there, and there are bad books that like
get published. And...
it's hard to look into the details on why it's bad, but when you're reading it and it doesn't resonate to you, like, it could just be the author isn't the best writer, and that's also fair. I think you have to kind of respect both ends of it, though.
Yeah, I recently, after I finished that book, Ready Player One, I was trying my hand at a hobby. So the first hobby I was trying to think of was improv. So I went to the library, picked up a book, and I thought it was going to teach me improv, but no, it was the history of improv.
But not how to improv.
Nice.
Yeah. So I was just reading a story. I was like, all right, maybe if I read it and like put faces to it, it'll be easier. And then I was like, they're jumping too much around between two different groups of people, and I'm like, okay, this is boring. So I just put that down. And I was like, okay, there's another one for reading is boring to me. And it's like, that felt awful to me. It's like, no, that's the wrong direction I wanted to go into.
Did you ever find one on how to, like, a book on improv?
Not yet, but I got into the other hobby that I'm also wanted to mention before we get into our time is massage. I found a book for dummies. That's been very interesting to read. Has
it been actually helpful? Like, you've learned
1 out of 10. Would you recommend this book to a friend?
Yeah.
I haven't finished it yet, but I do enjoy I love the way the person writes. I love the voice that they have. Their tone is very like lighthearted, but now it's like, yeah, I want to read a book, another different book, maybe, because it was on my phone. It was harder to read, tiny. So I have it still here. It's just tough to get to that point.
Can I ask this? Because I mean, even for me, I feel like it's a cool practical skill to have. obviously reading about it, do you feel like I guess have you like practiced any of it before? Like after reading about it?
Before I read the book, I just like going around giving people massages and seeing how because I know how it feels on me, and I know what I'm feeling for, because I know I need to get a better look at the muscles again, because I know where most of the tension lies for certain people. So I just like aim for those parts, because it's like, oh, the neck is used a lot to keep that, so this is like the perfect spot to like try and get like I picked up certain things throughout my life, like Slumdog Millionaire kind of way. But then I wanted to learn more about it. So I saw a book. I just haven't found the right book, you know?
It's tough though. It's tough finding like what book speaks out to you, because it's almost just like an overload of options, right? Now it's just like, man, I wish I was limited, or someone could limit me and then be like, oh, these are the select books you like. But it's all about finding that right one. Yeah.
And then it's like, oh no, I read a textbook. I'm like, I'm not reading a textbook. That's another reason why books suck to me. It's like reading AP US History textbook or Organic Chemistry by
like all your nursing school books, right?
It's like there's no soul in these books, you know? And then I had to read them so I could do well on the test. So much PTSD that I harbor around reading.
It happens, man.
I know.
Like I know.
I want to like it.
I have this book right now. I feel bad. I say it, but like I haven't been reading it too often. Like I was really into it for a while, and then I stopped. But it's like a self-help book. It was about like ways to like battle depression and stuff like that, and like learning how to identify like certain problems, and like various methods, like self-help methods you could use to like, you know, work on it or like improve your state of mind and stuff. And it was interesting because it was almost just like being a part of a conversation where it's just like, it was like, oh, tell me about this. Like obviously you have your chapter heading. It's like, it's almost like that was my question. Tell me about this. And then it's just like almost a long form discussion of like, oh, you know, here's what the overlying problem is. Here's like some patients and that I talked with, and they did this and they found this helpful. So here's like models of this, and it was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. And just like the way he writes it, like I feel like he's talking directly to me. Like he's talking directly to like the reader. So for me, it helps. It helps me read it because it's not like I'm reading. Like I said, like it's basically just like, it's like how you would like read a text, right? Like it's just reading like a conversation to me. So I think it definitely is just like finding that right book for you.
All right, we're gonna add this new segment to the podcast. It's called Book Club, and we all gonna spend. You and me both, but
I'm gonna be absent every week.
We're gonna get better. It's like, did you read the first couple chapters, Mark?
Let me check my Spark Notes real quick.
That's the thing that's so crazy about reading, is like if you put too much rigidity around it, it becomes like school again.
Yeah, I know. But then it's also like, I want to talk about it too. It's like when I watch a really good anime, it's like, oh my god, did you catch that last episode? That's fucking nuts. And then it's like, I read the book and I was like, who am I gonna talk to? It's like I tried to talk to someone who read it, and it's like, yeah, I read it a long time ago. I don't remember much about it.
Just tweet it out, man. Tweet it out. Tag people in it. Be like, yo, read this book. Tag me in it. Be like, hey, read this book, you dummy. Also send me a link for an audiobook in case I don't. In case they have one. Then I have no excuse.
Dante's Inferno.
Dante's Inferno.
Damn, you're going for the heavy hitters.
Jesus,
you don't
man.
like start with something easy. You just go right in. Like I was hoping we could start with a picture book for our book club and slowly work our way there. But you're.
But
like,
it's the only book I own.
Why do you have so many classic books?
I know. And I don't.
Just like next to your desk, you have Dante's Inferno. You have
Yeah.
Alchemist.
Yeah, but I don't have Catcher in the Rye or things I want to read. I don't know.
Great Expectations.
Oh my goodness.
Great Gatsby.
Oh, I want to reread the Great
Mockingbird.
Gatsby, because now that I have
Cold Mountain.
now that I have what's his face? I have Tobey Maguire and Leonardo DiCaprio in my mind as those two characters. I'll definitely read it again.
I heard Dragonmon said read Atomic Habits. I heard that book's really good.
Atomic Habits. I definitely heard that on a YouTube video.
Surprisingly relevant to the things we've been talking about.
Yeah,
Like
Atomic
building
Habits.
habits and good processes and things like that.
Yes, you know, I need to start somewhere, get a book, read it. Instead of looking at this phone and wasting my time, it's like I'm really thinking about deleting Reddit. This phone.
Mm.
Did you delete Reddit from your phone?
No, I still go on Reddit sometimes.
Okay.
But usually if I go on Reddit, I'm looking at like I try to do this thing where if I go on social media or anything on my phone, I do it with a purpose.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'll just like go on Reddit and just mindlessly scroll. If I go on Reddit, I have to go to a subreddit. That's what I tell myself.
I need to change my I need to make a new account. Just go for
like a purge.
Yeah. I don't know about a purge. This one already has a lot of good stuff on.
So to go back real quick, on Amazon, you can get Atomic Habits as an audiobook for free. If you've never used Audible before, I believe it says free with your Audible trial. So maybe an audiobook will help and just listen to it as opposed to having to physically read it. Just throwing that one out there.
I do.
Yeah, but I want to do
enjoy reading. For me.
Yeah, I do like reading them. I want to try and learn to. That's my thing. I could listen to someone read the book to me, but I want to be the one who learns like reading it. So that's my goal right now.
All right, Ryan. If we bring you back on the podcast in a month, I hope you can share some books that you've read or a book that you're reading.
Machiavelli's The Prince, Dante's Inferno. Dive in deep.
We gonna go deep? We gonna go back and hit up the Odyssey?
Jeez, the Odyssey. Classic.
Yeah, it's like One Piece right there, right?
It's like One Piece.
I wouldn't know. I didn't read it.
Beowulf.
That's literally the hero's journey.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh. I feel like that's what actually got me back into reading was reading World of Warcraft books. It was kind of like what triggered me to get back into it because it was like fascinating and the writer was actually good and I loved the lore.
Maybe I need to read like novels about Pokemon. Maybe that'll get me back.
Mangas are novels, correct? They're just graphic intensive.
They have a Scholastic book. There's a Scholastic book that actually went through the Pokemon Red game, and I owned it, but then I threw it away. So now I'm like,
I gotta find it.
I want to find it again, so I could. Maybe that'll get me back in the reading. But now I'm just going into. Now it sounds like a tinfoil hat, dude. Just need to jump in and read, find a good book.
But like, I mean, like we said, like sometimes it's hard to find like a book that like almost is tailored to you. It's weird. I feel like sometimes just like finding like the right book is like a journey on its own. It's like honestly, like I feel like you can't give up. Like even if they're like bad books, I feel like the easiest thing to do is just get recommendations from your friends and then ask them like, oh, what was it about? Can you tell me about it? Like, what made it interesting to you? Because maybe it speaks to you. Maybe it'll speak to you the same way.
You know, actually, what brought this on is not only my girlfriend's relentless. It's not relentless. Yeah, it's relentless.
It's not. It is.
She wants me to read, and I want to. So, she showed me this video about like this guy who went around the world and found the best bookstore. So I hope I can find that for you guys one day. You guys can watch that. It's very fascinating and brought me to want to learn to read. Like, took me from I hate reading to, hey, this is pretty cool. I'm gonna do this. That was the kind of push. So
I feel like, yeah, I do love the idea of recommendations. I feel like most of the books I've read, not most, but like that's also a big driver for me. Was I remember when I really started getting into self-help books was because my boss recommended me a book, and I like really looked up to her. And I was like, if there's anything that can get me to think the way that you think, what should I read? And she like gave me like a handful of books that I should read. And like for me that meant a lot because I was like, okay, this is like kind of what eventually led you to where you are and how you think. It kind of got me to start thinking that way.
That's cool, that's
So
cool.
yeah. So what was
So
the
is it-
recommendation? I need to write that down somewhere. What did you
Wait.
guys recommend for
I don't read, so I don't really have
Atomic
a good recommendation.
Habits is what Dragon Ball
Atomic Habits? And
Ender's
then
Game is the-
Ender's Game.
That's a fiction book that I think is really good.
Yes. I'll add that onto my tabs. My endless tabs. Ooh.
I also like the
Orson
other book
Scott.
from Ernest. What's his name? Ernest. The guy that
Hemingway?
made Ready Player One.
Ernest what?
Ernest Cline. That's his name.
Klein, yeah, I remember that.
His other book, Armada. I like that actually. I thought it was a good book.
Armada? Okay.
Mhm. So if you like Ready Player One, I think it's a pretty good one.
Okay. I like the little reference to the name. It was nice.
If you're depressed and you're seeking help, I can suggest a book. I had to pull it out because I don't remember the title of it.
I'll look into it later.
If you want to get better at conversations, the Dale Carnegie book is pretty good actually. The How to Win
Yep.
Friends and Influence People. It's kind of a classic.
Ooh,
With the
so that's also
stuff.
the one where it's like you say their name more often, so it inclines them to want to do more stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey Matt, you want to do this today? We should go out and do something, Matt.
Yeah,
Dang,
I
and
mean,
now I'm
Ryan,
jealous.
if you
I'm like,
do want to do it
why does
that
it say
way,
Mark?
I would say that you should do it that way, Ryan. But the way I recommend Ryan reading books is like, at least talking to people, Ryan is like, I can't even do it. I can't say your name. Like it becomes inorganic.
I know, right? It's like I haven't
But
said.
I
Mark
do say
wants to
people's
make
name
a
more often.
remark about this conversation. Mark.
But there's like the thing about self-help books that I think people misunderstand is that it feels almost like cheat codes because someone breaks down what people don't think are skills into a way that just makes sense, into almost like a science or a process where like
Oh.
you can just follow those steps. So I think like How to Win Friends and Influence People is exactly like it sounds weird, but if you think about it, having a conversation is literally just another skill. And you can break it down into parts that you can improve in. And that's how I see it.
I think it's almost just like I guess the way I've started to see self-help books too is just like it's almost like someone has to tell you what's obvious and like point it out to you for you to be
Right.
like, oh, that's true. That is, yeah, I should know this. Okay, it's almost like a reaffirmation of like an obvious
Yeah.
statement. And when someone else says it, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I definitely believe this. You know?
Yeah. Like you could tell yourself something over and over again. And someone says it's like, oh, yes. I've heard that a million times in my head, but when you say it like that, it's almost intriguing.
You have confirmed. 2 out of 2 people have confirmed this statement, making it 100% true.
I hope that a third person doesn't come and make it 6.6%.
Yikes.
Oops.
But is it
think
about
we
that time?
I was gonna say, I think we're starting to get to that time.
Yeah, it looks like it.
We hit some juicy topics, talking about a little bit of learning new skills, whether that's learning a language, learning a skill in itself, whether that could be reading. Reading is a skill. Reading, learning a language. Talked a bit about your nursing life, and I hope the best for you. I wish I could have dove into it a little bit more, but it's okay. We'll get it another time. But
yeah, of course.
Still had interesting stuff. I hope that the rest of your nursing journey is full of positivity and support and good things. I can only hope for the best, because if I'm being honest, I've only heard terrible things.
Well, it's easy to talk about the terrible, right?
It's easy to point out what's wrong.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing that pops up in our heads more often.
But
We don't celebrate success enough.
yeah, man.
That's for sure.
But as we will wrap this up, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for being a part of the conversation. Oh man, people just came in. Unfortunately, we are wrapping up, but you'll get the best part. The best part, as is tradition, with the Almost Awesome podcast. We throw it to our guest to close us out, to send us home, to set us free. They just sum up what they took out of the conversation, a quick in conclusion statement. But after that minute, that's gonna be it. So before we send it to Ryan to send us home, again, thank you guys for tuning in and watching. We'll be back again next week. We're gonna stay. I know my streaming hasn't been consistent. I'll work on it. I've been super busy with school lately, but every Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be here podcasting, catching up with old friends, talking the good talks, trying to make it as juicy as possible.
I'll make sure we'll do. I'll keep it up if you have homework. I'll give me your account. What's your password?
Oh, here, I'll tell you right now on stream. Let me tell you it vocally.
I do want to make two plugs. One question for Ryan before we hand it over for the minute and I start the timer. Ryan, if there's who would you love to see on the podcast? If there's anyone that you have in mind. First one that comes to mind. You don't have to think too hard about it. Someone that you think would be cool.
My girlfriend would be awesome. Maybe Jackie Chan too.
Ooh, nice.
And then
okay, two possibilities.
The third one will come. Maybe Kyle. Just have Kyle again.
Kyle's return.
Do you guys have Neil yet?
Not yet.
We haven't had Neil actually.
We have only just started, to be fair.
Nice.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Those are noted. We will work on those. The only other plug I have is you should also follow us on Instagram.
That is true.
AlmostAwesomePros. We're gonna start posting clips there. So if you want to check out some of the highlights from the stream, check out our Instagram. And we also post when we go live. We put it on the story. So definitely, if you want a little reminder, that's a good way to go. But with that, Mark, if you're good, I am going to hand it over to Ryan and start the timer.
We should be good. Let me go ahead and pause the tunes. Thanks Ryan for the playlist. If you didn't get a chance to check out the playlist, you can put in the command !playlist in chat right now and check that out. When I upload this to YouTube, I'll also put that in the description there, so you can peep it out if you enjoyed the tunes that we were listening to in the background. But I believe that should be about it. Let's go to bed, Ryan. Boys.
I'm gonna count you down. On one, you can go. All right.
All right.
The minute starts. Here we go. 5, 4, 3.
As with life, you always find yourself always wanting to be with people, and you always want to keep the people that are best around you at all times. So remember that even though life has it where we drift apart, make the conscious effort and don't be conceited, and try and make your best effort to be able to say, hey, can we hang out or actually have a conversation? Because that's what makes life meaningful, is the connections that you have with other human beings. And then always try to remember there's ways to delve deeper into a conversation, even if it's with a stranger, with ways like saying, instead of saying why, say, what brought you to do this? Or tell me more, or what's on your mind. Those are great ways to try and get people into a deeper conversation. And I need to remember how to learn to read happiness. Find leisurely ways to read. So also remember, don't suffer through things twice.
All right, we out. Bye.